What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Sacred Cards, back again with another deck profile for you. Today I'm coming at you with an update to my Dinomorphia deck profile for May 2024. I really wanted to share an updated list with you because I've been testing the deck a lot and been having a lot of fun. I have some new cards in here that synergize with the strategy and maintain the deck's consistency. As most of you know, I love dinos, and this deck is so unique with its play style, bringing you down to incredibly low life points and using cards that take advantage of that. So, with all that said, I'll go through my deck list and try and explain the cards as best I can. Let's get right into it here. Starting off the monsters with 3 copies of Dinomorphia Therizia. If this card is normal or special summon, you can set any Dinomorphia trap directly from your deck. Then if your life points are 2,000 or less, it gains 500 attack. It also floats if it's destroyed. You can banish a trap from your graveyard, special summon a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia from the graveyard. Next up is triple copies of Dinomorphia Diplos. I still think 3 copies is correct. You really need all the resources you can. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send any Dinomorphia card from your deck to the graveyard. Then if your life points are 2,000 or less, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. If this card is destroyed, banish any trap from your graveyard, special summon a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia monster from the graveyard. And for the last monster, I've gone back to a fantastic card for this strategy, which is 3 copies of Wannabe. I prefer this over Prosperity because the extra deck is very important, while this card lets you excavate cards from the top of your deck during either end phase up to the number of unused spell or trap zones by your opponent. You can then set 1 excavated trap, allowing you to dig for a card that might be useful on the next turn. And that rounds out the monster lineup. Now moving on to the spells. We're actually just playing 1 spell for draw power and consistency. Triple copies of Pot of Duality. This is the best draw card for the deck in my opinion. It lets you excavate the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 to your hand, helping you dig for the cards you need. You can't special summon during the turn you activate this, but it does let you set up with your normal summon or and play through your opponent's turn with all of your traps. Now, traps are the name of the game here, so let's get right into that. Starting off with 3 copies of Dinomorphia Frenzy. During your opponent's main phase, pay half your life points, fusion summon a Dinomorphia monster using 1 monster from your deck and 1 monster from your extra deck as fusion material. This card also has the effect that when your opponent activates a card or effect while your life points are 2,000 or less, you can banish this card from your graveyard. You take no effect damage from your opponent this turn. Now, the other fusion trap is 3 copies of Dinomorphia Domain. I see people cutting this card to 2, and to be honest, I don't know why. You always want to be able to fuse. During the main phase, pay half your life points to fusion summon a Dinomorphia monster using material from your hand, deck, or field. It also has the effect, Frenzy. When your opponent activates a card or effect while your life points are 2,000 or less, banish this card. You take no effect damage from your opponent this turn. Next, more normal traps. Double copies of Dinomorphia Alert. This card is great for the grind game. Alert can allow you to pay half your life points, special summon up to 2 Dinomorphia cards in the graveyard whose total levels equal 8 or less. Like the other normal traps, when your opponent activates a card or effect while your life points are 2,000 or less, banish this card, prevent effect damage for that turn. Now moving on to the Dinomorphia counter traps. 3 copies of probably one of the best cards in the deck, hands down, Dinomorphia Intact. When a monster effect is activated while you control a Dinomorphia card, pay half your life points, negate that effect, and destroy that monster. Also, when you take battle damage this turn, it becomes half of whatever your life points you are at the time, so each time it'll just be cut in half, so you can't actually die on that turn. Plus, during damage calculation, if you would take battle damage, banish this card from the graveyard, and you take no damage from that battle. Again, this card is great because you only need to have a Dinomorphia card face up on the field to resolve this effect. So if you activate your copy of Frenzy or Domain, for example, and your opponent tries to Ash or negate you with a monster effect, you can hit that card with Intact. I then play one copy of Dinomorphia Sonic. I think one copy of this card is fine. It's nice to have a searchable trap negate. It pays half your life points to do that, but the only slight downside is you have to destroy a monster, but they float anyway, so it's not all bad. Plus, in the grave, if you banish it, it will prevent you from taking battle damage. Now, for more counter traps, of course, we have our 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Kind of hard to not play this card. Pay half your life points, negate the summon or the activation of a spell trap card, destroy it. And another card that's become pretty popular in the Dinomorphia strategy, I've been enjoying a lot, is 2 copies of Iron Thunder. I really want to play 3 copies of this card, but I think it's fine. I'm also not playing Solemn Strike because you can't always pay the cost for that, so I find this one to be a little more consistent and applicable. It's a more destructive Solemn Judgment. When a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, pay half your life points to negate and destroy that card. Then destroy any other cards in the same column that destroyed card was in. Like I said, 2 copies has been perfect throughout testing. Very happy with this card. Now, one of my favorite techs in the deck, of course, is triple copies of Ferret Flames. This is another great tech for this deck makes great use of this card because the combined attack of all monsters your opponent controls is higher than your life points. Make your opponent shuffle their monsters back into the deck so that the combined attack is less than or equal to your life points. Again, it's not once per turn. I'm never cutting this card. Absolute beauty. Now, another great tech card for the deck. As you guys know, I love this package. Triple copies of Soul of the Supreme King. Pay half your life points, special summon Supreme King Zedark from your extra deck. Its effects are negated and is returned to the extra deck at the end of the turn, allowing you to use it again. The best ability of this card is when your opponent activates a spell card or effect, banish this card and 1 Supreme King Zedark to special summon 1 Pendulum Dragon, 1 Xyz Dragon, 1 Synchro Dragon, and 1 Fusion Dragon monsters from your hand, deck, extra deck, or graveyard. This gives you several new monsters on the board and is still one of my favorite engines to play in the deck. And next is a card I've been considering for quite some time. I've had these on my binder and always thought they would be a good fit for Dinomorphia. 3 copies of Destructive Daruma Cannon. It's kind of like Book of Eclipse in trap form. It flips all monsters on the field to face down defense position, and if there are any face up, such as your opponent's link monsters, for example, they must send all face up cards or monsters they control to the graveyard. Now, here's a fun fact for you, for those that don't know. If you have this card set and you soul the Supreme King to summon your copy of Zark, its trigger effect will be negated normally, but if you chain this card to its effect, it will flip it face down, but its effect will resolve to destroy every card your opponent controls. You can also achieve this with cards like Book of Moon, but Destructive Daruma Cannon works more in our favor, in my opinion. And then finally, rounding out the main deck is double copies of Trap Trick. This card is simply another copy of Frenzy, Domain, Alert, Destructive Daruma Cannon, Ferret Flames, or any other normal trap you might want access to. You could also play Trap Tracks if you like, but you need to destroy a monster to resolve that one. Well, that is it for the main deck. It is 41 cards. If it bothers you, cut a copy of Trap Trick or something. But for me, the math adds up perfectly. So that said, we're going to move on to the extra deck now. 3 copies of Dinomorphia Rex Term. While this card is on the field, your opponent cannot activate monster effects of monsters with attack greater than or equal to your life points. Plus quick effect, pay half your life points. The attack of all monsters your opponent controls becomes equal to your life points. And if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon a level 6 or lower Dinomorphia monster from your graveyard. And following that up, of course, we have triple copies of Dinomorphia Kentragina. This 4,000 attack monster loses attack equal to your life points, but has the amazing ability to quick effect banish a Dinomorphia normal trap, and that card's effect becomes this card's effect. So basically the idea is you can use your copy of Frenzy to fusion summon this card, then copy Frenzy's effect again to get a copy of Rex Term as well. And if this card is destroyed, special summon a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia monster from your graveyard. And last of the Dinomorphia cards, I'm playing triple copies of Dinomorphia Stealthburgia. 3 copies is essential to play in my opinion. I mean, you could play 2, but you need it for resources, and I like having the option to end on 1 if I need. It has the effect that when your life points are 2,000 or less, you don't have to pay life points to activate trap cards or monster effects. It also has quick effect. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can inflict damage equal to that monster's original attack. And again, it has the effect when destroyed, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Dinomorphia from the graveyard. Next is 1 copy of Supreme King Zark. You make Zark with your copies of Soul the Supreme King, so its effects will be negated, but it provides a huge 4,000 attack and defense and will return to the extra deck after the turn it is summoned. Although if it does get destroyed, you can place it in the Pendulum Zone. Then Fusion, Synchro, and Xyz monsters your opponent controls can't activate their effects. Plus, if your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, you can destroy that card. And following that up is 1 copy of Odd Eyes Archray Dragon. This card's name is always treated as Supreme King Zark. This face down card in the extra deck must either be fusion summoned or special summoned by tributing 1 level 12 Supreme King Zark, giving you a permanent 4,000 attack and defense body on the field, while still allowing you to resolve your copies of Soul the Supreme King. And the next 2 cards are my targets for Soul the Supreme King. When your opponent activates a spell card, you can banish the trap card and your copy of Zark to get you access to the following: 1 copy of Brave Eyes Pendulum Dragon and 1 copy of Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. The main effect with Brave Eyes is when this card attacks an opponent's monster and that card is not destroyed, you can banish that monster. And I still haven't gone out and gotten me a copy of Crystal Clearwing yet, but you should probably play that instead. Crystal Wing has the ability to, when another monster effect is activated, quick effect, negate the activation, destroy that card, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack till the end of the turn. Plus, if this card battles a level 5 or higher monster during damage calculation, this card gains attack equal to the current attack of the monster it's battling, always ensuring it can get over problematic or high attack cards. And finally, the last 2 cards I'm playing are the Lone Xyz monsters in 1 copy of Volzar Logia and 1 copy of Volzar Dolka. Really good options to have and very easy to make with your copies of Therizia and Diplos. Logia, when a monster would be normal or special summon or spell trap card is activated, quick effect, detach 2 materials to negate it. Dolka, when another monster's effect is activated, quick effect, detach a material to negate and destroy that monster. Again, that effect is not once per turn, which is very nice. Well, that is it for the deck profile. I really hope you enjoyed it. If there's anything you like or don't like, please leave me a comment telling me what you think. Be sure to like the video if you did, subscribe for more content. Thank you for your support. I'm SacredCards. See you all in the next one.